He walked in for a checkup, but when he saw the nurse, everything stopped. She wasn't just another face. She was the girl who once made him believe in himself. Aarav Mittal was used to luxury, private jets, award ceremonies, 7-star hotel suites. But that day, dressed casually and without his usual entourage, he walked alone into a quiet, small-town clinic for a basic health screening. He had been advised to take a break, clear his head, and stay away from headlines after a heated boardroom scandal rocked his company. He just wanted to breathe, away from cameras, away from pressure. The clinic was quiet, humble, and oddly comforting. The receptionist handed him a form. "Please wait, sir. The nurse will call you in shortly." A few minutes later, he heard a soft voice from the hallway. "Mr. Mittal, this way, please." He stood, and then stopped in his tracks, the nurse standing at the doorway. She looked straight into his eyes. It was her, Diya. The same Diya who used to sit next to him in college, sharing notes, late-night coffee, and laughter over missed assignments. She wasn't just his favorite study partner. She was the only one who ever believed in him before he became someone. She had vanished after graduation. No social media, no messages, nothing. And now, she was standing there in scrubs, clipboard in hand, as if the universe had paused just for this moment. "Diya," he said, barely believing it. She blinked, clearly recognizing him too, but her voice remained steady. "Please have a seat, Mr. Mittal." Formal. Distant, like they were strangers, but Aarav knew better. This wasn't just a checkup. It was the beginning of a past returning, with all the emotions he thought he'd buried. After Diya had led Aarav into the examination room, a heavy silence lingered in the air. As she prepared his chart and asked the standard questions, both of them exchanged tentative glances. The clinical routine was interspersed with moments of lingering recognition, reminders of shared laughter in college lecture halls and late-night study sessions that once made even the most mundane subjects come alive. When the nurse adjusted his blood pressure, Aarav's hand brushed against hers. In that brief contact, an old warmth stirred, a spark that had never truly died, hidden beneath years of separation and success. "Diya, it's been a long time," he said softly, his voice betraying both excitement and uncertainty. She paused, a fleeting look of vulnerability crossing her eyes as she refilled his cup of water. "It has," she replied, her tone professional yet tinged with nostalgia. I never expected to see you here." Aarav's heart pounded as he recalled how, in college, she'd been the one who cheered him on during grueling exam weeks and helped him understand complex theories. "You were always the one who made even the toughest days bearable," he murmured, almost to himself. Diya's hands trembled slightly as she straightened up, the professional facade momentarily cracking. "Those were simpler times," she said, then forced a smile. "I followed a different path, you know. Life has a way of changing plans." Aarav nodded, unwilling to let the chance slip away. "I never stopped thinking about those days, or about you." For a few minutes, the room filled with the soft hum of medical equipment seemed to fade into the background as memories flooded back. The sparkle in Diya's eyes, the gentle encouragement in her voice, and the countless hours spent together in quiet libraries and busy cafeterias. Then, the sound of the door creaking gently into the hall reminded them of their present reality. Diya quickly regained her composure, returning to her routine. But that moment of fragile connection had reopened old wounds and the possibility of healing them. Aarav cleared his throat. "Would you like to have coffee after this? I'd love to catch up, truly, if you're willing." Diya hesitated, glancing at the clipboard in her hands. Finally, she met his gaze. "Maybe we can," she said. There's much we need to talk about. And so, as the checkup continued, both realized that beneath the formal facade of a routine clinic visit, old memories were rekindling. Memories that could turn today's encounter into the first step of something deeper, something life-changing. Later that evening, they met at a quiet cafe tucked between a pharmacy and a bookstore, one of those old-school spots where the aroma of cardamom chai lingered in the air, and no one was in a hurry. Diya arrived in a simple kurta, hair loosely tied back. Aarav, dressed down in jeans and a plain shirt, looked more like the guy she used to study with than the man the world now called a millionaire CEO. They sat at a corner table. The silence was thick at first, but not uncomfortable. "I kept looking for you," Aarav said softly, stirring his coffee. "After college, after I made it, I thought maybe you moved abroad or got married, but you just vanished." Diya gave a quiet smile. "I didn't vanish. Life just got messy." She looked out the window for a second, then met his eyes again. "My dad fell seriously ill right after graduation. We had bills, debts. I had to give up my scholarship and come back home. Nursing school was the fastest path I could take to earn something and stay close to him. By the time I thought about reaching out, you were already everywhere. Big headlines, big speeches. I figured your world had no space for someone like me anymore." Aarav's throat tightened. "You have no idea how wrong you were." She looked surprised. "I would have given it all up just to see you again," he admitted. "The success, the spotlight, it never filled the one space that you used to hold." The emotion in his voice was raw. "Real?" Diya blinked rapidly, holding back tears. "I watched one of your TED Talks last year," she whispered. "You quoted something I used to tell you, about failing forward." "I never forgot that," he said, smiling gently. "I never forgot you." Their hands brushed across the table. Neither pulled away. For the first time in years, it felt like the noise of the world had faded, leaving only the truth between them. Simple, honest, and still very much alive. But just as they leaned into the comfort of that moment, Diya pulled back slightly. "There's something you should know," she said, eyes serious now. "Something I never told you. Back then." Aarav leaned forward, heart racing, and as she opened her mouth to speak, he realized. This reunion wasn't just about old love. It was about a truth that had never been spoken and would change everything. Diya took a shaky breath and looked down at her cup, swirling the tea as if trying to find the right words floating inside it. "There was a reason I avoided you. Even after everything settled in my life," she began. "A reason I couldn't bring myself to reach out." Aarav leaned in, his eyes locked on hers. "Whatever it is, just say it." Diya nodded slowly, then looked straight at him. "After college, shortly before I left, I found out I was pregnant." The words hit him like a wave. He froze. "I was scared, Aarav," she continued, voice trembling. "I didn't know how to tell you. We were both struggling. You were applying for internships abroad. I didn't want to hold you back, and I didn't want my child to be a reason someone stayed out of obligation." His heart pounded. What happened?" She smiled faintly. "He's 8 now. His name is Ishan. Smart, stubborn, and always asking big questions. Just like someone I used to know." Aarav's world spun. He blinked fast, trying to process the years, the choices, the missed birthdays. The child he never knew existed. "Ishan's your son," she said gently. "I never wanted to keep him from you. I just didn't know if you'd ever come back." Aarav's hands shook slightly. "I can't believe you raised him all these years, alone." "I wasn't really alone," she said softly. "I had him. He kept me going." He stared at her, stunned, not with anger but something deeper, respect. Awe. Love. I want to meet him, he whispered. Not as a visitor. Not as some distant figure. I want to be his father, if you'll let me. Tears spilled from Diya's eyes then, not from sadness, but from the weight finally lifting. That night, they sat together for hours, planning a future neither of them thought they'd get. Weeks later, Aarav was spotted at a local school, quietly attending a science fair, not as a sponsor, but as a dad. And next to him stood Diya, her hand in his, smiling proudly. Headlines buzzed. Millionaire reunites with former study partner, finds out he's a father. From clinics to conference rooms, a love lost and found again. But none of that mattered to them. Because some people don't walk into your life just once. Sometimes, they wait quietly until the world brings you back, not to restart the past, but to rewrite the future.